Hello, everyone. In most African homes, fathers were the silent providers. At least mine was. They are strong, disciplined, respected, but rarely understood. Many of us grew up watching our fathers live through actions and not words. They built roofs over our heads, but they never quite learned how to hold our hearts. Today, the world has changed. Fathers are learning to unlearn, to be present. They're learning to listen. They're learning to raise sons who understand that strength can also be softness. My guest today, he knows that journey too well. He grew up in an African home. He rose through life's challenges, and today he is a professor in the United States. He's raising wonderful sons in a world that ask fathers to show not just power, but presence. If you've ever asked yourself these questions, how do I raise children in a world so different from the one that I was raised in? How do you break circles without losing your roots? Then, this episode is for you. This is the Unraveled Closet, where we unravel different layers. I am Lucy, and today we are unraveling the heart of the modern African father.
The Unraveled Closet podcast with Lucy.
So, people, our guest today is a long time friend of mine, but he is a Christian, is a husband, a father, and an economist. He has 9 siblings. He lost one sibling 9 years ago. He was raised by his parents, but lost his father 20 years ago. So his mom took the power and held his household together. He is an assistant professor of economics at Hartwick College, New York. He holds a PhD in economics from the University of Mississippi. He has an MSc in economics from the University of Lagos and a BSc in mathematics and economics from the University of Benin. Please join me as I welcome my longtime friend, Professor Lawrence Ogbefun. Seriously, Lawrence, it is
Yeah,
such an honor to have you here with me. It is such a pleasure. And just before I started rolling, I said something. I said, I never believed that there will be a time in my life where I'll sit down with you officially, talking to you like this, without our usual banter. It is my
amen.
pleasure to welcome you to the Unraveled Closet, where we unravel layers one after the other. Welcome, Lawrence.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today. And the last episode was great. I listened to it. It was really great to hear you expressing and showing to the world what you went through and giving that personal experience is a lot to learn from. And it was really an eye opener for me.
Thank you so much, Lawrence. Thank you so much. Um, this is the Unravel Closet, I told you. Anything else we don't want. What we want here is vulnerability. We want you to be free, to be calm, to just share your story with us as we go. Without further ado, we're going to jump into the questions. So, are you ready, Lawrence?
Yes, sure, I am. Uh, go easy on
Okay,
me, though. Just go easy on me.
I promise I will. So take us back to your childhood. What was growing up with your fathers? What did it feel like, growing up with your father?
Yeah, like you rightly mentioned in the introduction about me growing up in a house with a father and a mother. I have a stepmom and then 10 siblings. So that was what growing up was like for me. So we live in I think a 3 bedroom flat, and you have like 13 people in the house.
Wow.
But it was great for me, a personal experience, just having these people around us. My dad, doing what traditional fathers do, and also my moms giving their best as supporting, providing the structure at home, and then with the kids just walking through the path they created for us and trying to do it one step at a time, hoping that someday we become better people. And so that was the kind of structure that was created for us. And having my father as the head of the household was pronounced. It's something that was there. We know the structure was there. So that kind of shaped my mentality growing up and what I thought or think about what a house should be like at my very early days.
Oh, lovely. When you were talking about that, I picked two things. I'm going to deviate a bit from the questions, but you talked about a traditional father. Now, basically, remember that our listeners, some of them have no idea what traditional father is because most of them are not raised in Africa or not born in Africa. But for us who were raised in Africa, we understand what a traditional father is. You know, the respect and being the head of the house. What it meant to them was different from what it means to the people in this part of the world. So I want you to throw a bit more light on who a traditional father is, or what you understand as a traditional father.
Ah, so Uh, when I say traditional father, I'll speak whatever I want to say here today is from my own perspective, from my experience. So I might be wrong, right? But again, it's how I grew up and also what I've come to learn over the years as first a Christian, right? Before any other thing. So that again is something I believe we could talk on in the course of this discussion today. So, by traditional father, I grew up in a structure where the head of the household is the father, which happens to be my dad, and he is the provider. And me provider is the responsibility of the father is to provide both financially, physically, in terms of protection, right? And that structure is what I could see even as young as I was back then. I was able to see that structure from my father. Okay, this is what it means to be a father. That responsibility. When the duty calls, right? Somebody that will show up. If somebody comes in the house and there's a bill that is brought to the house, anything saying unquote or called NEPA, right? The PHCN, whatever it is. If NEPA
Yeah.
bill comes, who we take responsibility for that bill. If it's time for tuition fee, whose duty is? Again, this is not to take away anything from my mothers, right? Personally, for my mom, did a lot. Again, some people might want to talk in the course of this discussion, right? But again, when it is time for responsibilities in terms of providing for the family, my father, right, was that person that stood out, right? He might not have everything, but again, he wears the coat. He wears the duties, responsibilities is all upon him. So that was what I
Mm.
grew up to see a traditional father is like.
Mm. Wow, that's really eye-opening, especially for people who did not grow up in the kind of systems we grew up in. There was something you said that sank into me. Responsibility. The idea that a man is not just a head of the house because he wants accolade, but because when there is something on the table, he steps in and, as the head of the home, responsible for bill payment, like you said, and for, maybe discipline, being a model for the kids. So I
Yeah.
think that's very key for us as growing up because our culture is a bit very different, isn't it? These are things we understand as being a traditional father, and I think I love it. And that's what I wanted to understand is so you're telling me that you grew up, so you have two moms,
Yeah.
because I had moms. Also,
Yeah.
you have your mom and then you have your stepmom.
Yes.
So sorry, this is just another I said, but I love the flow of it. So you mean that in your home there was no dispute, how in Africa stepmothers are always fighting with the mom, between themselves, and then the kids are always after each other. Did you have that kind of energy in the home?
Great question. Again, I do joke with this. The kind of polygamous family I grew up in is not the typical polygamous family that a lot of people come from. Maybe because we we're Christians, or we're Christians at home. We grew up to see our parents being Christians, right? My dad, Christian, my mom's, they're Christians, right? We all attended the same church. So
Wow.
my mom was in the women choir. My stepmom was in the children department. In fact, when I was back home just last month, I saw my stepmom in the children department, right, of my
Mm.
church. So that's a very different dynamics. So I'm seeing, if I go to church, I'm seeing my stepmom in the children department. So it's a different concept, or the different concept of what traditional home or what
Yeah.
polygamous family is, right? So
Mm.
but that this kind of home I grew up in. And again, yes, there might be disputes as young kids, but not something that cut across the kids. We never had
Mm.
anything. If parents, or I say my dad had issues with my mom's, that's for them. It never
Mm.
anytime crossed with the kids. Okay, because
Mm.
we grew up in such a myself and my immediate step sisters, right? We're almost the same age. My older sister and my immediate older stepsister are almost the same age, so they're almost in the same class. So you can see my sisters were in the same class, right? They're almost like twins. I was different from my younger sister, though we're not in the same class. So, but again, we have a lot of in common, right? And I don't know how it worked for us, but again, there was a structure such that what happens to the parents really does not come across
Um,
to the kids. So that
wow.
was how it was growing up. And
That
today it's
that
the same.
that's amazing, Lawrence. I must tell you, that is so brilliant. Like it's one of the rare stories I've heard. I must tell you because
Yeah,
when you talk about people about fatherhood, growing up in a polygamous home, it's a whole lot of different things you hear. And I'm really
you're
pleased.
right.
I'm really happy that this is another side that people would hear. If you're listening, you can see that not all polygamous home has, as what they call it as
Yeah.
pandemonium as we think it is. So this is a typical example of a home that had so much peace, understanding, and a father's love. Just another question: vulnerability. So the way people understand vulnerability is totally different. People think when you're vulnerable, you're soft, you lack strength, But for us, vulnerability, for me, I've realized that vulnerability can be a bit of softness, that leads to strength. So is this something you saw in your father? Did you see your father? Did he say, words like "I love you, Lawrence," or hold your? I know you would laugh, but hold your hand and say, "I got you, my son." Give you a cuddle. Are these things that were present in the way your father showed his love?
No, 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 no. That's different. No, there was no. I don't think when I look at my relationship with my kids today, and I look at that with my dad, yeah, I didn't get those words of affirmation or for "I love you" from my dad. I can't remember that, right? But again, actions. Sometimes when I double check those actions from my dad, right, I see, or all I see is pure love,
Hmm.
right? Though, okay, yes, when I do well in school, right, oh, you see they're proud of you, right? But I can't remember. My dad say, "Oh, I love you," but I have good memories of my dad. I know kind of dressing me up. I remember when I was in a teenage church, I was preparing for something in church, and my dad was dressing me up. I can remember that picture as I'm talking to you right
Hmm.
now. I wore me in
Wow.
the white stuff. I bought my shoes, and he gave me his cufflinks to use. And that is one precious asset I have of him today. I don't joke with that. It's very nice cufflinks I use. But it's for my dad that gave that to me. And again, those actions for me, when I look at them today, right, and from a distance, I see this is a really act of love, right? But like you said, the questions of, oh, did he use "I love you"? Do I tell my kids today? Not common. not common. Wasn't common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remind me a lot of, when I was growing up as well. My father was more like the person who's very disciplined in the home. I used to say the discipline is split in half. The mom will be either the mom is the soft one or the disciplined one. So it's either ways. So for our family, it was my father. My father was very disciplined to the core that all of us went through to the same university, University of Benin. If you pass any other exam somewhere else, you're locked. You will go to Uniben. But guess what?
Wow.
Now that I'm looking back at it, I think he made us stronger. For it wasn't the type exactly to say, I love you or give you a cuddle. But now I remember writing those JAMB exams over and over actually brought strength and resilience.
Yeah.
Sometimes you wonder, I don't know if you wonder in America where you are now, something you're doing consistently, nobody's pushing you, you're like, seriously, I can actually chill and not do this thing, but
Correct.
I was raised to push.
Mm.
I was raised, so those are their own forms of love. That's what, if I think about it, I'm like, oh, my dad was loving me through those, sometimes through those weeps. My dad was loving me, was loving me through those words, through those push and stuff. And so I resonate with that. Another question I wanted to ask you, in one word, just one word, how would you describe your father?
Oh, my father was truthful.
Hmm.
That's something I come to know about him. Is somebody who is a truthful person, not just to us as his kids. I think that was what a lot of people in the family knew him for, right? It was, I grew up in a very big family from my mother's side, from my dad's side, it's a big, massive family where people see people, people value people, brothers, sisters. I have cousins today. I have to tell you that they're my cousins. You think they're my siblings because of how close
Hmm.
we are. So that's how big my family is. At the center of that kind of comprehensive or broad
Elaborate family.
family, my dad was at the center of it all, because
Mhm.
of his truth. I remember when when my dad died, and my mom, elder sister came. I remember the first thing she said when she was crying, walking in, was that my dad's name is Gabriel, and he said,
Mm.
"My truth is gone." That was what she said,
Mm.
and that struck. I remember,
Wow.
like I still hear that voice when she cried. She said, "Gabriel in Benin." She said, "Oh, my truth is gone." So that's my father when it comes to someone who says something, who's truthful, and that's what
Yeah.
I grew up to know my dad to be.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah.
Seriously amazing. Wow. Wow. All I'm saying is wow because I'm blown. Because the things I
Yeah.
thought I'll be hearing and all the things I'm hearing. So it's amazing. I must tell you, wow, your father was different. So you talked about Lawrence, you talked about having a Christian home and how lovely and truthful your dad was. How did this influence your life? How did it transform you to the man that you've become today?
Okay, great question. I think I couldn't separate the life my parents lived or the life I grew up in, being a Christian, from parenting, right? Because every act I saw my parents uh, portray was an act of love. And growing up in a Christian family, coming to know God for myself, I was able to connect that act of love for my parents to what the scriptures and taught us or has been teaching us, right? So it goes hand in hand for me. And also the discipline for my parents, right? I growing up, at very young, in my dad and my mom, you mentioned about one is soft, but my mom was really tough on us. My mom was tough. When I look at her today, I'm like, when I see my younger siblings, the way they grew up was a little bit different. My mom was a little bit
Yeah.
soft. I don't know what happened, but for me and my older sister, my mom was really tough. My
Mm.
mom was so tough. My dad was tough. My dad was tough on me. So I wanted to make this remark back to what you asked me earlier on about my dad. So when I was growing up, I thought my dad didn't love me.
Mm.
And the reason was because it was really kind of the guy was just all over me. Like he comes back from work, he's where is my native name is Osagidua. Where's Osagidua? Like he's always asking about me. You see kids playing in the street with their friends and all those stuff. But my dad just comes back, and then the next thing is he's taking me out from like where I'm playing with my friends. So that really made me, as a young boy, I'm like, does this man really like me? Why she just let me do what I want to do? Stuff
Yeah.
like that, right? So, and also when it's time to like do some work, he always assign stuff to me, assign like home chores or assignment to me, want to get something, I'm the one. I kept asking myself, like, is this man really my father? Like just a young, foolish young boy. I'm like, is this guy really my father? Like, did my mom do anything wrong? Why is this guy so? I'm the first son, right? I have
Mm.
older sisters. I have like four older sisters and then younger sisters too. So I was the first son, but it was later on. Oh, I remember one fateful day we were having a conversation in the house, and my father said something. He said, "Oh, if none of the kids, if he does not have money to like put all the kids in school, that is going to ensure that I go to school."
Mm.
Wow, this was me thinking maybe this man didn't like me, and my
Yeah.
father said that. That changed my perspective about who this
Mm.
man is. That stuck with me till tomorrow. Everything I did today, in terms of my ambition to become somebody, to become a professor, I'm glad because I think my father, right? The thoughts from my father will always be with me because I look
Mm.
at it. This man had this passion that is going to ensure that I go to school, I do this. Wow, that was a game changer for me back then, right?
Wow.
So that was when I understood that sometimes, like you said, they might not use those words, right? That
Yeah.
I love you, I do the stuff, right? But that was a very transitional period for me to understand this
Yeah.
man loves me, right? And I love, like I said, growing up to become a man today, right? A lot of things I picked from what my parents did. The positive one, I have to say, if we go on later on, we have opportunity to really discuss why I said the positive one because
Yeah.
again, not everything I think they did that was perfect, right? But everything I think that they did that was great. I try to pick from those stuff as I become a better parent in my own generation.
Amazing. Really, really amazing. I'm getting to know you from a different perspective now. I know I've known you for a long time, but this is actually opening layers. Yeah, this is actually opening layers, and this is why I do it because sometimes you just assume people are something. I don't know if it happens
Yeah,
to you. Sometimes you just assume because,
yeah,
or
you're
you
right.
just get stuck with the idea of them, and then, but when you
Different,
have
you're right.
conversations, you open these things and you realize, oh, this thing is happening to Lawrence, and I didn't even know.
That's true.
This is how Lawrence grew up, and it's amazing,
That's true.
what chatting or
Yeah.
conversing with people do. And that brings me to the next question, a bit more emotional now. But do you think African boys, I mean, boys raised in Africa, are taught to be emotionally strong or emotionally silent? I have my own
Hmm.
perspective of that. I'm going to say it, but I want you to start first.
Ah, so when you use the word, say African boys, again, sometimes you can only say something from your own perspective, right? I
Yeah,
know there's this, I know a lot of people say, oh, like men are made like thought to be strong, share
yeah.
emotions, those kind of stuff, right? I can say that I ever felt that way growing up. I have to be sincere, right? I don't think my parents ever used any word like "oh, you're a man," toughen up, stuff like that, though. But again, I'll give a very good example. So sometimes I don't know it happens to you that there are some things people tell you, there are some things people do to you that stucks or that stick with you for forever. I remember growing up when my dad was sick, sometimes he couldn't go to work, right? And then it was having he had his own private business, so he always like want me to step in, right? I was very young, still in secondary school. So stepping in means I have to miss school. And I cry
Mm.
a lot because missing school for me was crazy. I don't want to miss
Wow.
class. So I always like cry. So sometimes I'm just moving my head. My dad but he's sick, he can't go. And then my mom, after that time, she have not like started working with my dad. But later on, she
Mm.
started doing when my dad was really sick, so my mom had to step in. So I always was the one. So those were part of the stuff then that made me to think, does this man really like me? I have like older siblings. Why is it not I have like older siblings that are older than me that like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Why are these other ones not really taking responsibility? But again, that is where a traditional father or a traditional man want to try to bring the son in,
Yeah.
right? Although I have older siblings, right? For him, he thinks this my son taking responsibility is what it should be doing. And one
Mm.
day I remember we were just about entering the vehicle. He said something when I was just mumbling and shaking my head. I don't want to go. He said, when I die one day, you're going to take care, you're going to step in. That was what he
Mm.
said. That, oh, he was just saying, oh, when I'm gone one day, you're going to like step in into doing all this stuff, right? Just kind of be prepared. So, so that's the kind of experience I had, right? But there was no time where I felt maybe someone tried to silence me in terms of showing my emotions,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Or maybe when I didn't have that experience. I know people do say, oh, sometimes people tell being a man, I didn't have that experience, so I really cannot categorically say this is
So,
true, right?
wow.
But
So
growing
wait,
up was
Lawrence.
just
Sorry, oh, sorry to interrupt you. So, Lawrence, you want
yeah.
to tell me that there was never a day when you cried, that your parents saw you and said, "Why are you crying? You're not a man." Never.
Oh no, no. I have to be sincere.
Wow.
I have
I
to be
can't
sincere.
go for an
Never,
house.
I don't have a memory of that. I have to be sincere.
Wow.
So, like I said, whatever I'm saying here is not, I'm not trying to create any positive saying. I have to be sincere. So, something that some things people do that stick with you. If I had any memory of maybe I was crying or doing something that my mom, dad, or mom had to say, oh, you're a man, I would have been able to say, but I don't have any memory
Wow.
of such.
Wow.
Like growing up, where I saw myself in a situation where like I was crying, and then somebody's just tried to tell me that like I don't have any memory of that. I don't.
It's amazing because oh, I'm a woman, but I'm still gonna, share my own experience. Like for me now, I'm seeing everything as different, to be honest. Now I'm seeing everything as, for example, our parents, the way they were raised, right? It's pardonable to say, like now, the way I grew up with my parents beating us. It's for us. But I can't fault them. You know why I cannot fault them now? Because I'm looking in retrospect and I'm seeing that these were the way they were raised. It's like they say a palm nut does not fall far from the tree. If I was raised like in a culture where this is a norm, like where I am right now, I won't lie, when some people talk about whooping and all of this, I'm like, excuse me, that's the culture. There's a system you were raised into. You don't know anything else. You don't know
You're
anything
right.
else. So you can't judge. You can't even ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? Because that's the only thing you know. So
Yeah.
for me, growing up, I won't lie to you. Emotions in my family then were seen as weakness. I won't lie to you, right? Growing when I was in Lagos, the driving force for me, hustling and doing a whole lot, even till date, to be honest, Lawrence, I cannot just do one job. If I'm working, I have to be doing my business because my mindset is different. I won't lie to you. Sometimes when I'm chilling, my partner will say, "You can't you chill?" Because as soon as I'm chilling, you see me editing something else. But it's because I was raised that emotions, right, should not be felt. Not because they didn't know better or these people didn't know better, but that's their own way of showing love to us. And it helped us. It's still
Yeah.
helping me. But what I'm saying is in Africa, I think the way they maneuver emotions is wrong. I feel like if a boy is crying,
Yeah.
now I know better. I think before if I was in Nigeria, I would do the same thing. If a boy is crying, I would say, "Why are you crying? You know be man." But now that I know better, it's easier. But I still think that's a whole lot of weight
Yeah.
in Nigeria, especially in Nigeria where I'm from. That's a whole
You're
lot
right.
of weight. You see some boys
You're
crying
right.
and somebody will say, "Why are you crying?" You see a man, somebody, in joke, if you're on Instagram or social media, you see some comments, I'll be like, what is going on here? Somebody is showing emotions, you are killing the person. To me, I still see people being bullied, being insulted for being, especially men. Like men. Men are told to, agadagidi, you go tie, you will do your tie, you have to get up like everything is well. You are the force of the home. So guess what? These things actually dig a bigger hole. So, but I'm amazed at your
What you're saying,
story.
yeah, I just want to chime in a little bit. What you're saying is really true. And looking at it in retrospect now, I think that's really what you're saying is true because talking about weight, I'm just looking at myself now, right? As a first son growing up, I think I didn't have any weight on me of, oh, maybe you're like the first son, you have to do like those expectations. I didn't have those stuff.
Wow.
And yeah, because yeah, I have to be sincere. I didn't have maybe because growing up I studied so much. I remember vividly when I was in secondary school, as a secondary school, my parents do wake up at
Mm.
midnight when I'm burning candle. There was no candle when I was using a lantern, right? The
Yes.
one we come that's yes, when I was using lanterns to study, my mom, my dad, they wake up at night and all they say is they just greet me though, like, oh, like they're just greeting me because I was burning candles as early as my primary school. I was burning candles. So that weight of I grew up like that. When I entered university, there was never in my life. I've never. So I would have to say this. I've never grew up when it comes to expectation of being like studying, do well. I never grew up with any expectations from my parents in that
Wow.
regard, because I think I was blessed enough, right? We had very good family cousins who we all looked up to that were
Mm.
doing well, that went to school, that were doing well. So I think that influenced us as kids to pick up, to have this desire to want to go to school. So once that set in, I knew I wanted to go to school. I was studious and everything. There was no need for any parent to try to want to say your child to, you understand that kind of stuff. I think that took that aspect of my life where I needed an external force to
Mm.
encourage me to want to go to school. So in
Wow.
fact, my mom called me when I was in uni. My mom called me to tell me to take it easy to study. That was the kind of counsel I get. Yes. So that was what
Wow.
I get from my parents. They have to tell me to take it easy because like I don't study too much or try to rest or
I
that the
think,
kind of so I'm telling
yeah,
you about weight. I didn't receive any form of like pressure. Oh, you have to I didn't receive that.
I think
So that's
you
something.
are an amazing student. So you didn't need to be pushed because you were already in
Oh
first.
yes, so I think I had that advantage.
You were
Yes, I think
always
that worked
acing
for
your
me.
game. You were always, doing
Oh
well.
yes.
And so, but it's amazing too as well. That's a very amazing thing to have, a record to have. That you were acing your steps. And so guess what? They were like, oh God, if this guy keeps acing this step, man, so that you don't overdo it and then, get strained. So
Yeah.
that's why they were doing it. It's
Uh,
amazing how much support they gave as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
A quick one. I want to get back to the question you asked about if I know you talk about if there was room, like I know you mentioned, oh, don't cry, stuff like that, right? I'm very emotional. So growing
Mm,
up, from my mom, right? So if my mom goes out and she's not back very late, I'm up,
mm,
right? I know my mom this mention is she when she comes, she says she knows that if everybody's sleeping, I'm up. I'm
mm,
waiting. So that was the kind of person I am. I'm going to be waiting for my mom to come back
mm,
from wherever she's going. So when she comes back, until she comes back before I sleep. So I have this memory of when she comes, she's smiling and like, oh, she knows I was going to wait up for her,
mm.
right? So that's the kind of so I'm not some parents will be like, "Oh, why you up?" Still kind of stuff. But again, my mom understands that I love her
That's who
that
you
way,
are.
right?
Yeah.
So she likes it. That okay, so like that. So I'm just trying to say that
Yeah.
I was really free emotionally.
Mm.
I had the freedom to really express
To really
myself,
express yourself.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I never felt somebody trying to put me in a box or trying to make me
Mm.
feel uncomfortable. I didn't have that experience, but that does not take the fact that a lot of persons, it might be true, right? I have friends that
Yeah.
like you're the first child, you're the first son, there's a lot of
Yeah.
expectation. There are a
Yeah.
lot of expectations. Yeah. I didn't
Mm.
have that from my own end.
Amazing. Super amazing. You know, to be honest, right? The in my own family, it was a bit different. Not in a bad way though. Like I said, my elder brother was the head of the home. He had so much responsibility. He was the first to go to university, obviously. So he started stepping in. Till today, I won't lie to you, my family is bonded by strength. because my parents are, my dad especially, somebody you cannot just, there's something we say, it's nothing you can just do and relax and be chill. No, it doesn't work for him. You gotta be your best. So the point where
Yeah.
if you come with third, my father will ask you, why is third first? What's going on here? Do a little bit better. But those things helped us as well, right? For the men, I don't know
Yes.
because I
Yes.
cannot say in their own regard. But for me, it taught me to hide my emotions rather than express them, and I had to unlearn those things intentionally, not because they were doing the wrong thing. They were doing what they know. They were helping us to get better.
Yeah.
But for me, I had to unlearn that it's okay to be soft. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be emotional. So sometimes when I'm on a fast pace, I stop. I said, dude, spill some emotions out, breathe. You're too harsh on yourself. And then I don't know about some men, but this is me as a woman talking, and I can assume what it is for other people who are like the
Yeah.
eldest sons in the home, who do not have the privilege to
You're
come
right.
from a beautiful home like you as well. So I understand those things, which is bringing me back to my next question. Respect. You know how respect is in an African home. For example, I don't know how your home is. Some people will get up, you have to greet your elder brother, greet your elder sister, greet everybody, keep greeting like that. Now, that's a system I know. So, when you moved
Yeah.
from Nigeria, did you find that there was a challenge with the way you related to people? The impact of your upbringing. Did it affect the way you related to people in America? Your mindset or even yourself. Did all of these things revolt, or you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I get you. Yes, that was something that's common, that was common in my home too. Yeah, you go to greet your older ones. People are older than you, whether it's by 1 minute, they are older
Yeah.
than you. It was a bragging right, right? I used to say my siblings there, they used to unquote, they're older than you, not oppress you, but it was something big deal for them. Like
Yeah.
you're like, I'm older than you. It's like a cape or something, and you're like, my goodness, I hope I grow up to also be older than people, right? So you can't really say some stuff. People are like, they're just lording it over you that I'm older than you.
Older
I
than
remember
you.
growing up there, my siblings, my sisters, they're like, and it was tough for me because I had like sisters older than me, so I didn't have like brothers,
Mm.
so they're discussing. I'm like trying to put my own idea, my two cents. They're like, "Oh no, no, no! This is like this is." I remember it was school stuff. I think they were trying to solve a problem, and I think I understood the problem. And they're like, "No,
Yeah.
no, this is for SS classes. This is not junior class." And I'm like, "What's going on here?" So, so that kind of structure where you have
Yeah.
to like respect people, right? Yes, I think respect. It's a good, is a good trait. It's something that is good, and I learned that when I got in here. So what I like it or not, it was a shock the way people do stuff. For instance, you have to address your professor. Sometimes you address them by their first name, like you just call them. You understand? You don't even have to say
Lauren.
like Doctor this, Doctor that. You just call them like
Yeah.
that. So that was something I had to like adjust, right, a little bit. And
Mm.
also when you see people, you want to like, you're almost like you're
Almost,
almost
yes, sir.
what do you call it? You're almost like lying down on the
Lying
floor,
on the
banging
floor.
your head, stuff like that. Yeah, yeah, banging your head, stuff like that. Again, those stuff were things I had to like just try to
Yeah.
unlearn, right? But again, when I see African professors in my school, oh no, I greet them in an
Mm.
African way. So back there in my
Mm.
school, we had like a lot of professors that were from Nigeria, right? And you see, so I greet them in an African way. The way I would greet
Yeah.
an African person, the way
Respect.
we like dobale or do whatever I would do. So that's different. But when I'm relating with my other contemporaries or um people from a different culture, right? I have to also to be able to stand firm, right? Treat people or talk with people respectfully, right? Does not matter whether they're different from my culture or they don't share the same culture. But again, how
Mm.
you talk to people, right? They're older than you. That element of respect should be there. That is how I see it. And I still apply it with how I relate with my colleagues today, right? I
Mm.
might not call them like, oh, Sam, man, but again,
Mm. Yeah.
even the tone of how you send messages to your
Yeah.
colleagues should show some level of
Respect.
respect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, I will talk. I know I'm not a man. Pardon me, viewers, but I must share my own story. But the truth is, for me, when I came into the UK, it was a big problem for me. So, because I know that women, especially, they don't want you to call them ma because it seems like they're old. So because
Yeah.
I'm in the care world, care sector. You meet a whole lot of people who are vulnerable in different regards, different, category in life. And the more you do, if you don't understand them and you're just walking into the room to say, hi, ma, the subconscious, you just go say, hello, ma. And it
Yeah.
looks like, who's ma? Look at me. Do
Yeah.
I look older than you? So it was a shock. It was a cultural shock for me. So I had to unlearn, start to understand that, dude, here, nobody's mad. Just calm down, And in the line of
Yeah.
business, let me now tell you another thing. I realized that Africans, once you begin to associate too
Yeah.
much and do this dobale, they take advantage of your business. Permit me, not everybody, oh, please clear me, clear me, clear me, clear me.
Yeah.
Some of them find this vulnerability with, African dobaling as like we're okay for us to price. I cannot price your business because we are from Nigeria.
Yeah.
I can now say, you know what,
Yeah.
I'll pay you £10 now. Tomorrow I'll bring £5. I think it's a bit, how I say it, it's neither here nor there. So I'm in the middle where I've understood that this is people. So I address people based on where you're from, like what you said. When you meet
Mm-hmm.
people, for example, from different culture, you know that these guys are more modern.
Yeah.
So there's no mad, there's no sign this. But when you see your other counterparts, elderly, respect them from Africa, you greet them. And then those people can really understand from, where you're coming from. I think it's a very big thing people need to learn. Balancing as well. Amazing. Now to
That's
your
true.
sons.
That's true.
To your sons.
Yeah.
I know that you just added one to the league. So
Yeah.
congratulations. I know it might not be
Thank you.
boys growing now,
Thank you.
but big congratulations, guys. So you have
Thank
three
you.
boys now.
Yes.
You're almost getting to a football team, but let's keep that for later. Yeah, so now you're raising boys in America. What's that experience like?
Uh, so raising boys or raising kids in America is a different dynamics, right?
Hmm.
Different from home, how we were raised, right? And but it's about understanding what parenting is, and I can't say anything about parenting without going back to a big question: what your perspective about being a parent is before you become a parent. It's a very important question. I think people should ask themselves, right? What do you think as a father? What are you coming? What are your expectations? What are you coming?
Hmm.
Especially if you're in diaspora from home, right? What do you expect as being a father is? And having three boys is a blessing from God. And like I said, I can't separate being a Christian from being who I am as a father, right? Because I've come to understand very early enough. What I think I was saying back in Unibank when we're having like men's seminar, we're having pastors coming to teach us about parenting. Those seed
Hmm.
were already sown in us. What the expectation of a godly parent should be, right?
Hmm.
I can remember there
Hmm.
was one great pastor back then, Pastor Steve, Dr. Steve, who's a pastor, talking about how he lays hands on every day, declaring God's word from them, which is what I do for my
Hmm.
kids today, right? So those things help me understand what parenting is expected from the godly perspective. So having three brothers today is a blessing. One thing I say about being a parent is that we are custodians of God's people, right?
Hmm.
This is very, I say, this is how I discuss with my wife, right? Oh, yes, I'm glad I have three kids. But again, beyond that, these are human beings God has given to
Hmm.
us as responsibility.
Abilities.
And right,
Hmm.
yeah, the Bible talk about something. It said in stewardship, it is required that we are found faithful. I
Hmm.
treat my kids right, yeah, with love and everything, but with a duty, knowing fully well that they are God's given treasure to me. So whatever I do with my kids, and I do it with the understanding that I'm accountable to God first,
Hmm.
right? So that is something at the back of my head that really helped me in whatever I do. It helps me because sometimes when you think you want to get frustrated with situations, but I
Yeah.
understand that this duty I'm doing right now is to God first, right? Even before to my spouse, to my kids, I'm doing this to God. That has really changed the dynamics of how I see parenting. So that is why every time I do it, it's with joy. It's tedious, it's tough, especially with the culture here. Whatever I do for my kids today, I do it with so much joy because I see it as a responsibility to God.
Mm.
That is how I've
How you
treated
see
parents,
it?
and that is why my journey so far has been interesting being a parent because of the perspective of how I see parenting.
Mm. But do you know one thing I understood from what you said, because you've answered the next question, and I think is a brilliant flow. You know how you've married your culture from growing up to how you're raising your kid. You just explained it perfectly, because how you were raised, how you were raised. This is very pivotal
Yeah,
in this world that we are in. How are men raised? When we say we have boys and we have men these days, it's how they were raised. How were these boys raised? My ex, I'll bring my story back again. My ex, when I started to forgive my ex and learn and unlearn, I realized that some people are not raised in love.
yeah,
Some people are not raised to love God. Some people find God on their journey and then learn love from God. But that's if
you're
they're
right.
opportune to have that. So
You're
in
right.
understanding people is very key in survival. Some
Yeah,
boys will remain boys because of how they were raised. But some people
you're right.
transition from being a boy into a man because either they have love or they encountered God.
Hmm.
And I think this is what you
That's
just
true.
narrated. You can see how you bless your children. You just talk about speaking into your children's life. You just talk about how you're not just ignoring where you're coming from, or those sacrifices your father and your mother made. You're still taking them, but what you are remodeling them, right? Into this new culture you're in. You might not know how amazing your job is, but I'm trying to, say it so you see how amazing your flow is and your journey. And so when your boys are all grown now, and people will say, oh, your mama raised, they will even say, in this modern world, they will say your mama raised you well. Because your mama raised you well now for
Yeah,
Nigeria, they talk that way, your papa raised you well. In this world, they'll be like,
yeah,
oh, he's such a good man. But because of these things, the father, you have put your feet, the mothers, where the parents have put their feet to make sure that these boys are raised the right way. If everybody were raised like this,
yeah.
trust me, we won't have. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I just want to chime in again. Now, we're talking about where we are raised, right? This might be a discussion for something from another time. It's a critical factor in anybody's life, whether you're a man, you're a woman, a boy, a girl. You cannot see it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of God's work in a person's life that are raised in a wrong environment. It can only
Mm,
take the work of God to change a person's life that was raised in a wrong environment. The reason I say that is this, because this is not love. Your love cannot change that. Let's understand that. You love somebody cannot undo the environment that they were
they
brought
were
up.
raised.
See,
Mm.
if someone does not love themselves, if they were not brought up in a place where love was felt, touched, seen, right? When we're talking about love, yeah, not just about money, like
Yeah.
love, true love, right? That is not something somebody can buy with money. And
Mm-mm.
if people don't understand what that is, and during the course of their life, they didn't find God to help them unravel that aspect of their life to really experience true love from God's perspective, I'm sorry, it is the doom relationship. That
Mm.
relationship is doomed. Whether you
Mm.
like it or not, sometimes somewhere it's going to unravel itself, and you're
Yes,
going to
sir.
begin to see those straight comes
The,
in.
the
So,
true things,
why I say
yes.
that because the environment we grew up, it's so important. It influences. There are some things I do unconsciously. I think it's from what I saw my parents do
Mm.
positively. Anything that is not that is anything I do that I see that is wrong, I try to want to address it. Because whether we like it or not, you're a product of where you grew up from, whether you like it or not. So if you're
Mm.
a parent, you see yourself shouting, yelling at your kids, you want to go back and ask yourself, were you also like in that
Yelled.
environment?
Mm.
If you think
Yes.
it is not good, right, you want to try to correct that, consciously correct that. Okay. I remember vividly, I was discussing with my wife. Growing up, I see my dad, right? Yeah, my dad was not. I didn't really see my dad like say doing all the cooking stuff like like the way I do myself, right? Um, but again, I remember when my dad towards the end, my younger ones they were still in like primary school. Our last boys they were still in primary schools, and so before then my moms they go to work. Then my dad was mostly at home because of his health. But then one thing I noticed before my brothers come back from school, right? My dad already get food. There's these people that sell bring truck, people that sell
Yeah.
rising. So my
Rice.
dad already
Yeah.
buy
Yeah.
their food for them, keep their food, their water and everything is lined up. So my brothers come back from school, they already know that food is waiting for them. They go there and they get their food. So
Wow.
me today living in my own world, if I'm working from home, I don't want if my kids go to school. I do not want my kids to come back from school that their food is not ready. I find it very uncomfortable that my kids are coming back from school, right? That is when I want to start making food for the try saying I don't like it. But again, that is an influence from what I saw my father did back then. Right. So that's I'm just giving an example of how important that is why today, for instance, if I'm home, my kids cannot come back from school without anything ready for them. It's not possible, right? There's just something
Mm.
in me that I before the time I try to make sure their food is ready, is already there in the kitchen. Once they come, when they change their clothes, their food is next, like it's ready for them. I don't want that gap, right? So it just
Yes.
I'm telling you how powerful it is, the power of
Yeah.
influence, right? So you can think about
Influence.
such
Yeah.
traits
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I'm able to like pick from my parents. But again, other than
Yeah.
that, the other stuff that my dad might not have done. But again, like I
Yeah.
told you, I've learned over time. God helping me. I'm
Yeah.
blessed to have my mom a couple of times here
Mm.
in the past
Yeah.
5 years, almost every year. And my
Mm.
mom see me
That's
walking. She's always glad. Like she always says this, like, oh, like I do a lot of stuff my father did not do. She's always proud,
mm.
like seeing me walk, do a
Mm.
lot of stuff at
Yeah.
home. She's always
Yeah.
happy, always saying like she's just happy that I'm able to help my wife in whatever way I'm able to help her, right? So that's good, right? That's something that
Yeah.
gives you joy and being
Yeah.
able to be present for your family.
Yeah. So just an aside, or just to sum up what you've said. So it's really important if you're listening, you're a father, you know you're going to be a father, you have kids. This is really key that your boys you're raising now, okay, you have so much responsibility on how their life transforms later. You know, when I see men who don't cook, I'm sorry. This might be because you don't know how to cook or you don't have the skill. But when I see boys who don't cook and say, why will I cook? It begins to, I begin to ask myself a lot of questions. If I am raising a boy today, I would want him to get skills so that when he's alone, forget about him getting married later. So when he's alone, he's as independent. When he's a bachelor, he can have some skills that will not make him dependent on a wrong person. Do you get what I mean? So if I have
Yeah,
a skill, I
yeah,
will not say I'm clinging to this bad relationship because I know Sabi cook or I don't know how to cook.
yeah.
So because this woman can cook.
You're
So
right.
you see, the things you don't teach your kids, they depend on them. There's something I do for my daughter. She's a girl. Oh yeah, daughter is a girl. But she's not a boy, but there's something I do for her. I make her understand that I am a model for her. So if I'm like what you said, let me be honest with you. My partner is the very soft, calm, gentle parenting. He cooks. This thing where they talk, he cooks before we bag the kids. He has put them to bed. It's like a magician. If I'm putting the kids to bed, it takes 6 years. But once he steps there, sometimes he'll be like, babe, go, 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 let me do my job because you're not, this one is not working. But sometimes when I see the way he does, his things, I grew up yelling. My voice is a very loud voice, you can tell. So sometimes people misunderstand me, but sometimes I hear deliberately. So sometimes when I'm yelling, yeah, yeah, because I grew up in that environment. I learned it from my own fault. So sometimes when I'm notice I'm transitioning into this gentle, I'm not saying gentle parenting is the
Mm.
best, but when I'm transitioning into, you know, I'm like, okay, dude, breathe. My partner is gonna be like, dude, just breathe. What is the problem? And he steps in. The way you are raising your boys today, just know this. The way you're raising your boys today is going to determine whether they become men later. Parents,
You're right.
fathers, step up in your responsibility of your kids. Try to, be part of their life. Don't just walk from afar of power and, strength. Grow with them, learn with them, and teach them skills that you know that they will not depend on a bad person because they need that thing. Very important. So one last, not
Yeah.
last question, one more question. Have your kids ever
Okay.
scolded you the way you parent them? Have they ever say, Daddy, don't talk to me like that? Daddy, are you not supposed to
Oh.
hug me? Daddy, are you not supposed to kiss me today? Have they ever said things like that?
No, maybe they're still young. My first son is 4, and the other 3, and then I have like 4 months old. So maybe they're still young. Yeah, I've not heard that from them. Just
I
a
am
quick
so
one. I wanted
please.
like a
Okay, go on, go on, go on, go on.
yeah, yeah. You want to say something first? Yeah, you can say what you
I
want to
want
say
to say
before
something before
I
I
go back.
forget, Lawrence. Are you
Okay,
telling me that your please can we exchange children?
okay.
Can I bring my daughter to you and you bring your sons here? Because my daughter will tell you. My daughter will say, Mommy, Mommy, sometimes when my daughter does something, she will say, if I'm getting, she knows when I'm getting angry, she'll be like, Mommy, I know you're angry. Pause. But I know you love me. So breathe. Now give me a hug.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, my daughter is 3
yeah.
going on 4.
It does.
My daughter is like
My boy
a
does that. Yeah, they teach them all those stuff, all those anger. Maybe
yeah,
when he sees his
management.
other brother, yeah, when he sees his younger brother kind of throwing tantrum and just he's like, "Oh, Zion, take a deep breath, and then out." And then you say, "How do you feel now?" I'm like, "Okay, you guys, so this your method is," but again, you learn from them. Again,
Yeah.
my boys, you learn from them, and children they pick up things. We have to be sincere. They pick up things. And that's one thing I've learned, especially when in the Western world where you have direct contact with your kids. And I was trying to say this earlier on. It's very different culturally. Back home, if you are working, you have money, you can get house help, nannies, whatever, right? It's so easy. People that do domestic chores for you. But over here, I don't know whether in UK you guys are so rich to be able to like get your own personal
Mm.
nanny and all those stuff, right? They're quite expensive. So
Yeah.
if you're in a man who have a vision or someday you're going to leave diaspora and you want to be on quote what the definition of traditional men is, you're going to struggle. You're going to suffer. Let me use that word. You're going to struggle, and your relationship is going to
Mm.
struggle a lot. And
Mm.
if not careful, you're going to be divorced. That relationship is not going to work
Mm.
because um, thinking about how it is back home, where you think a father's duty is just provide financially, and
Mm.
I think I was discussing with a Christian friend the other day. I think it's very insulting, even for a man itself, to think that the duty of a man, even for scripturally, is financial providing what do you call it uh the financial provision for the family. To think about a man, especially when you look at the social media age where everybody just think about man is money, man money. When if you think being a man, when I mean man, a father, a husband, because we are talking about children now. Before you become a father, right? You're a husband or your spouse or whatever it is, right? To sum the duty of a man just to monetary value, it is very, for me, it's very insulting because when I look at what
Mm.
I do in my home, money is not even the top of what my contribution to my family is. Money is not it.
Mm.
In my house, money is just a tool. My wife and I, we know this is just a tool for us to run. But being involved with the family, money is not what it is, right? Like being
Mm.
present, to being a present father or a parent that is there, right? I feel really insulted when people talk about money, 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 money. So what happens if you marry a spouse who is wealthy, for instance, that has money, meaning your duty as a man is gone,
His money gone.
meaning you
Yeah.
are useless, meaning you are useless as a
Mm.
man, meaning your
Mm.
value as a man. That is why a lot of I see why people feel threatened if they marry spouses that are doing well, right?
Mm.
Because they feel somebody is about to take their duty,
The
and they see
duty.
this kind
Yeah.
of this ego,
Competition.
right?
Mm.
Of oh, they you're foolish. I pray my wife be richer than me, and that would be a blessing for me because she has better taste than me, so she will have more money to spend for herself. But again, I'm just saying, right? But is never a problem for me because I've never seen money, never in my life have I seen money as what makes me a man. Like I've
Mm,
arrived because I have money. So what that pumping of chest that you see a lot of guys men kind of flex their muscle when it comes to the money is there to spend. That's really the
yeah.
list of responsibility. That is what I
You-
believe. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
believe it is.
Do you see this thing you say? Sometimes my partner says something. He said when he hears people talking, so light about parenting or parenthood, sometimes he pauses and saying, I feel like my major purpose in life is parenting my kids. He said he cannot separate his purpose from being a parent, that he feels this conviction that he was born to be a parent. You can imagine when somebody says my purpose, apart from, working or doing my career. Sometimes I feel like that is what parents should be. As how parents should see parenting. Because if you begin to see parenting as a purpose, you begin to do it better. You see it as a way of
Right.
life. What's the purpose? What's purpose? Something you are called to do. And you know that if you don't
Yeah.
do it, you have no joy. Maybe if people begin to see parenting, as a purpose in life, because you just said something that that's God's purpose for us as well. That we are parents, God has given us gifts. We are nurturing these people
Yeah.
with God's help as well. So I think what you said makes a whole lot of sense. The way we see parenting, if we can all, you know, unravel these layers and understand from the grassroots where the problem is, maybe we'll have better men, in the
Yeah.
society. Yeah. One other question I want to ask. Have you ever been vulnerable in front of your kids? When I mean vulnerable, have you ever cried? And when you cry, wait, there is one question, 1A and question 1B. Have you ever been emotional in your front of your kids, vulnerable? And when you are emotional, did you explain to them why you were emotional? And second of all, do you as parents, you and your wife, do you guys make it an obligate no obligation? Do you guys see vulnerability in your home as important? Do you think it's necessary to have these moments? So how? How do you see all of this?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I think my wife does a better job in that than I. And I don't know if again, my kids are still young, right? I don't know if they've been in a situation where I've had to like show emotional, like to like express my emotion via crying, right? The other ways one can express emotions, right? But again, I think the other day I was just faking a cry. I was just crying, faking, and then my son said, "Oh, daddy, you're crying." That was yesterday, to be precise. "Oh, daddy, you're
Mm,
crying." He came and was pecking me, said, "Oh, don't cry, don't cry." I was just faking. Then I was, "Oh, thank you, Nathan," and then he was laughing. Yeah, but again, there've not been situation from my kids where I have to like cry or stuff like that. I've learned. I have to say this. Just again, people differ personality wise. My personality is kind of very different, and thanks to my wife, who's really helping me to be comfortable being like you were vulnerable in terms of expressing yourself, right? I usually just try to take things in, right? Just
mm,
take it in, try to process it, right? Sometimes I cry more from things of joy rather than things of pain. That's just me, right? I can cry
mm,
more things of joy. Maybe something great happens. I can express emotions easily for me, right? Than maybe something ugly happens. I don't know
yeah,
why, right? That's just I think that's my personality. But again, my wife have try as much as possible to tell me it's okay, babe. You can let it
yeah.
out,
Let
stuff
it
like
out.
that. So that was
Mm,
something I wasn't when we just got married. I wasn't really too good at like be free. But for my kids, to my kids' level, they're still young. They don't understand. I don't have any moment yet where I have to like they have to see me cry or stuff like that.
right.
But with my wife, yeah, I've had to learn that it's okay to just let it out, right? To let it out. But like I said, categorically, I think I've had more moments of joy where I had to like just shed
Joy.
tears of joy than
Yeah.
situations where I cry because of an ugly
Right.
situation. So that is what I
Yeah.
have to say concerning that.
One thing you said about kids learn by what they see. You might not know how much Nathan learned from you just portraying or faking it cry. You might think it's not, it's very, that's something in his life now that he has put somewhere, whether it's,
Yeah,
you know, you might think fake, but that's also your vulnerability because you just
yeah,
did something. In his mind, he didn't process it as fake. In his
yeah.
mind, he saw
That's
his
true.
daddy in a vulnerable state. And that has
Yeah,
registered in his mind. That has registered in his mind to say, oh, this is okay in this home.
that's true.
Oh,
That's true.
daddy has this moment. So when he has this moment too, he's gonna come to you and say, Daddy, he
Yeah,
will feel more, he would feel more, how do I explain it? Feel more comfortable coming to
yes.
daddy
You're
to
right.
express
You're
those
right.
emotions
That's
because
true.
he's seen daddy in that situation. There's something me and
That's
my
true.
partner said because my partner's got a son. We're a blended family.
Yeah,
He We decided that vulnerability is going to be okay. So, for example, if two of us are having a conversation, we're not going to go to the toilet and hide and whisper, except we know that there are things that kids should not hear. But if it's,
yeah,
for example, what we're going to do in the house today, babe, do you think this room is going to work? Or things that, in a state where we are brainstorming.
yeah,
When I was growing in Africa, we go, your papa, your mama go inside room, go talk some
yeah.
things.
Adult talk.
Because they don't
You're
want
right.
you to feel the weight and it's in good
You're right.
faith, right? They didn't want you to feel the burden. But now we told ourselves that we're going to be as vulnerable as possible. So, for example, where the kids are there, sometimes the first one will say, what are you guys saying? We will come open and say, oh, well, we don't know how to
Yeah.
navigate this at this moment, but we are trying. Do you have any ideas? And then we're like, oh, why don't
Mm.
you do it this way? Oh, that's a good one. We'll think about it. So
Yeah.
vulnerability for us is
That's
good.
good.
We've always said, like
Yeah.
what you said, marriage also helps people as well. I realize that when you get a good
Yeah.
partner, the partner understands that this is how men like this is natural for men. Men, you want to be tough, the toughest in the town. But women understand that you guys are also human. So when you have a good partner as well, they kind of lay the foundation for you to bear these emotions, for you to be free, for you to become. So I think that's a very solid what's it called? Solid foundation you laid there by your partner being a supportive, wife in this regard to also assist you
Yeah.
get through these emotions and make you understand that it's just, it's normal. And beautiful way, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful analogy for Nathan. Tell him that I'm rooting for
Yeah.
him. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
so
right. You're right. Kids,
yeah,
they pick a lot of things from us.
yeah, yeah,
They
they
do.
do. So is there any hardest part of you being a father? Is there anything you remember that you're like, oh my God? How do I navigate this as a father when it comes to raising your boys? Has there ever been a day where you're like, wait, oh my God, what is this? Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. A couple of challenges as being a father. One that I think of was when my boy was Nathan was like 6 months old. He had to like do surgery, and that was
Mm.
tough for us because it was just 6 months, and they said they had to like I think was it testicles, they had to bring it down. That's normally like it thing comes down itself, but after some time if it does not they have to do it down, blah blah blah. So that was a tough one for us. That is one. Yeah, and so you have to like do like two. So you did the first time, and then the one when he was 1 year old, you had to do the second one. Just a kind of what they say minor surgery. But again, for a young child as a then, that was really
Your child,
tough.
yeah, six
Yeah,
months.
so that was
Wow.
tough for us back then. Yeah, so the
Wonderful.
other stuff, but again, that registered with us.
So what did that teach you? Did that make you want to give up being a father, or did that make you more emotional
Oh
and you
nah,
want to
give
do
up,
better?
give up, give up. There's nothing like give up is not an option. Being a
Yeah,
father,
true.
no. Being again, life in good season, bad season, in season, out of
Mm.
season, and that is why I said
Yeah,
we need to really review what we think parenting is all about,
yes,
right?
true.
We need to review
Mm.
what parenting is all about. I think a lot of
True.
people have to do that, and the reason is because even before any situation happens, right, we need to be able to know.
Yeah,
Life will never be a bed of roses. It's not always going to
yeah,
be smooth, sound, whatever we are believers or not. I
yeah,
believe we need to understand that and try to see things in the light from what God's desire is. These days, what I tell myself is this: no matter what I'm going through, no matter what my kids are going through, I need to understand that we all have a God who is the Father of all of us, and He cares way more
Mm.
than that. Just recently, I was just doing study, and I was beginning to just think about it. I was thinking, I was just thinking of meditating on one of my devotion. I was asking myself, so imagine about or think about how much you think you love your child. Think about how much you
Mm.
think you love your child. And then you think about the
Mm.
fact that God loves that child way more than you do.
What
That's
are you?
crazy for me. I was just thinking
Mm.
about it. That's crazy. And that gave me
Mm.
a lot of confidence. That gives me a lot of assurance that sometimes where my love ends, right? And that's something we should
Mm.
do as parents. Where my love ends. Again, sometimes you see parents, they've tried their best. A child is not getting what it's supposed to do. Maybe a child is sick. Like you cannot do way more than that. You cannot heal the child. You
Mm.
cannot
Mm.
help the child do something beyond that. And then you understand
Mm.
that there's somebody who loves the child way more than I do. That person is going to
Mm.
continue from there. That gives me so much assurance. That gives me so much peace. That gives me so much joy. So that
Mm.
no matter what is going on in the life of
Yeah.
my children, because I've come to understand that these kids were given to me by God. God loves
Mm.
both myself and my kids way more than I can
Mm.
ever think. Because sometimes we think, and well, I might be wrong, parent we think, oh, like you see this, I want to like it look as if
Yeah.
manually you want to orchestrate everything. I want to do everything for my child. I want to do this. It's just
I want
like,
to buy the
again, it's
latest
not by
shoe, the
power.
car, this one, yeah.
You can always do to the extent of which your power takes. But let me tell you the
Mm.
fact, as parents, whether father, mother, if we don't understand this, right, one thing that can lead to is you're going to be heartbroken. Yeah, I've seen parents
Mm.
recently. See, growing up, I saw parents did everything they could do for their child, for their children.
Mm.
And then recently, I'm talking with my sibling. Where is this person? Oh, this person is a Yahoo boy. No, this person is a cultist. Oh,
Mm.
this
Yeah.
person, life is this. And we ask ourselves the question in the process of me saying, after everything their parents did, and that really brought me back to this mindset of
Mm.
God being the parent of us all. Because
Mm.
humanly speaking, I remember those days, the parents of these kids we're talking about today, they did everything a loving parents could have done. They
Mm.
tried their
Yes.
best, they gave everything,
Yes.
they provided
Yes.
everything. So what did they do wrong? So that is where, and that is why I'm saying this. This is very important. If anybody's listening, any parent or aspiring parent, you have to understand this. No matter what love you think you have for your children, it cannot go beyond the love God has for them. Not. Because if you do that, if you understand this on time, it gives you so much ease. And those nights where things are really awkward, those nights or those days where it seems like your parenting schedule or your parenting strategy is not working, right? Trust me, those nights will be better nights for you to understand and say, Lord, now I'm done, I'm tired, but I think you can take control
Mm.
of
You
this
can
one,
step in.
right? You got to find rest, you got to find peace, right? So you're not going to blame yourself because one thing that you don't want to do as a parent is start blaming yourself. Well, maybe I did not do this one right. Maybe I did not do that one right.
Yeah.
Oh, if I was a
Mm.
better parent, if I was to do this, so all those blame, all those guilt is what the devil can use to want to trap you,
Mm.
right, as a parent and make you feel bad about yourself. But again,
Yes.
when you do your best, you know this is beyond me. Then you just hand over it to God and say, God, I
Got
trust you in this aspect of our life. So that's
Thank
something I
you
wanted to
so
mention.
much, Lawrence. Thank you so much. What you said reminds me of what I always say. Because my partner, he always says something. Say this AI now taking over. Sometimes we get, you get scared with what's the world gonna be in 5 years. Not before
Oh,
when we're growing up, they say be a lawyer, be a
it's gonna
doctor,
be
be a
tough.
that. Now
It's gonna be
AI
tough.
has taken over. So my partner always says something. Say what are we going to educate these kids to learn? You know what I
Yeah.
used to say? I used to say, when though darkness covers the earth and gross darkness the people, the Bible assures us what they say, the Lord shall rise upon me. He is to me an
Hmm.
everlasting light. So that is
That's true.
always my reply. It doesn't matter what's going around me. I cannot be the best
Yeah,
parent in the world, but I can listen to God and I
you're
get
right.
it. And when I am tired, vulnerability, we're coming back to vulnerability again. You said a very important thing, vulnerability in the place of God. It's as important. Sometimes I got it, I'm strong, I can do this. You know the work. Sometimes all you need to do is go
You're
to
right.
God. Yeah. Sometimes all you need to go to God is God. This parent, this became where you give me won't kill me. Oh. Egbewa Womel, my
Yeah.
heart is shattering. What can you do for
Yeah.
me? I'm putting it in your hand.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell my partner, I say, where we
You're
cannot
right.
parent, I leave it for God. Where we can
Yeah.
parent, I will leave it. I will not lie to you. There's
That's
sometimes
true.
when I have a strong heart pain for like, oh, what am I going to do now? My daughter is, I just said, peace, be still
Yeah.
and know. So stop.
You're right.
Just keep quiet that moment and just step back. Say, no, but you love the beekeeper as God. Step back and allow
That's
God
true.
to do it. And sometimes when you do that, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. So all this worrying, why they worry? For nothing. I want to really thank you, Lawrence. I want to really appreciate you today because I feel like I've gone to your world. I've come back to America. I've come to UK, and I'm so my mind is blown beyond proportion. My mind is open. Not just I don't have what's it called? I'm not a man, but now I understand parenting from different perspective. Now you have even taught me what I think I knew, but in a better way. You've talked about your wonderful home, how your father raised you. You've talked about how that transformed the way you see yourself as a man. And as you have kids, how it has formed your home so well,
Yeah.
holistically, and how you did not just allow your culture to die, but you were able to manipulate or, reshape it into a modern world. So what you're not doing is you're not just abandoning your culture or abandoning the modern world, but you are finding a balance in the middle to make sure your kids are not just well informed, but they are raised as Christians.
Yeah.
You might not see the growth you've done or the journey you've done, but I've just summarized it. It's an amazing, it's holistic,
That's true.
it's very, very rich and in-depth. And if everybody is listening out there, this is Professor Lawrence Obefun. He has come back to us. He's been open of how his father raised him, how his mother took on the wheel after the father passed, and how this is transforming his life. Trust me, raising kids in America is not easy. We have it soft in the
Yeah.
UK, but this is Lawrence stepping
That's
in to
true.
say, you can do this, you can do this. You've got it. You've got all it takes to be a father. All you need to do is trust God and do the right thing as a parent. Lawrence has been so amazing to just with you. It has been so wonderful. I haven't spoken to you like this in how many years? When's the last
Yeah.
time I spoke to you?
A long,
As in, I
long
can't
time.
remember. I did. Just to show you guys a recap, me and Lawrence, we actually went to we didn't go to the same university. We did, but I wasn't in his campus. But we met in something
Yeah.
called the National Youth Service in Nigeria. So this is like a compulsory 1 year service where they bring people from different schools, different courses, and everybody meets in a camp. The aim is to actually train you militarily, in a military
Yeah.
training to make sure you're fit and also give you a lot of skills so that when you go into the world, in quotes, you'll be equipped with everything you need. Or so we thought. So I met Lawrence in the same platoon, right? We're in platoon 4. I was a I was in charge of the dance and everything. But Lawrence was so amazing. Well, we were not in the same platoon. Sorry, Lawrence. We were not, were we?
No, I was in Platinum 7. I was in Platinum 7, I think. Yeah. I was in Platinum
Yeah, we
7. Yeah, you guys were in different one. Yeah. We did
were in
competition, I
platoon.
know, back then.
But
Me, I
when we
was
when
in
we
SATS.
dispersed, yes.
Oh yeah, but we went to the same. We were in the same CDS. It was CDS that brought us.
Yeah, it was
We're in the same
CDS. We
CDS.
dispersed. I went into the
Oh
community
yes,
and then we met in
yeah,
the
we're
same
doing
CDS.
in CDS
I'll
that brought
tell you
us.
guys, Lawrence wasn't, there was something I admired about Lawrence. He wasn't a dancer. He wasn't interested in all that. But he was the first person to come. He was always in time. He was the one handling I cannot forget, what's that thing called? What's that thing he
The
used to
gong
hit?
or something.
But yeah, he
Is it the
taught me
gong?
to be diligent. Yes. He taught me to be diligent in the things you do. He was always there, in the instrument department, always cheering us,
Yeah.
encouraging us. And I feel like that's an amazing thing you did, Lawrence. You might not think it was, but it transformed the way I see things. Be faithful in the little things. Very
Yeah.
important. Thank you so much, Lawrence. And I appreciate your time. Send my regards to your wife, your kids. And I
Yeah.
just pray that
I want to
whatever you
I
do,
want to say this. The final words. If you have time, just
please say it.
yeah. The final words. It's about parenting, right? Oprah. Yeah. 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 I think this for everyone, being a parent, father, mother, whatever. The best thing you can do for a child, I look at myself as an example, right, is to raise your kids in a God-fearing way. The best thing you
Mm,
can hand over to your children, right? See, you give them good education. If your children know God, is the best thing that is the best legacy anybody can give that child. I'm saying this because when I look back and I look, my father really didn't have much, everything to give to us, will or everything. But I'm blessed that he left the children and the family in a God-fearing way. He led us in a God-fearing way, and we're able to pick up from that. And I think that is the best thing anybody can do for their children. See, when your child knows God, if your children knows God, right, it's a thing of joy because knowing God and then they follow the right desires of whatever they want to do in life, it's a blessing for any parent. There's nothing like when uh, you 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 are at peace with your children wherever they are. I want to say this one thing I never had the experience of. Sometimes I just talk to myself and I say, God, like did I lose out from a lot of things? When I mean lose out, like I don't have any experience
Yeah.
of like fighting as a child, like fighting, like say children fighting all those stuff. I don't know
Uh-uh.
if I mixed. I don't have that experience of like say fighting. People are
Yeah.
fighting. I don't have that experience. Sometimes like was it a good thing? When people say we fought or all this stuff, I don't have that experience. One, right? Because I was just brought up in a home where Christians we're so connected to church, so connected to church. It was just church like home, school, for parents that work. It was so connected. When I go to university, the same thing. When I leave the shores of Nigeria, the same thing. It was just it's been my life, and it's been the best life I've lived. Right? I've never had this year makes it 20 years since I gave my life to Christ, 2005
Mm.
in school. I remember it was even secondary school, but has
Wow.
never been the same. And I think for any parent out there, if you're thinking of what can I do for my children, you got to live a godly life. Let your children see God in you. This is not about faking
Mm.
it. This is your children see.
Mm.
Just like your kids mimic
Mm.
you in everything you do. Children can mimic you in the way you serve God. They can mimic you
Mm.
in the way your heart for God is. Right? My kids see me daily. They see me do my devotion. They see, they come. That is a Bible. Oh, yes, they know what it is. My kids, some of the readings I sang growing up that were the core of my foundation. I see my kids singing them because we played the song today. Right. It's
Mm.
not, I'm not saying we should force them to do those stuff.
No.
But I'm saying
Yeah.
if you're praying, if you are wishing, if you are desiring, if you are living a life, you should live a life that shows and reflects God. This is the
Mm.
best legacy. And you know why? Things will fade. Take note.
Yes.
These children are going to have children, they're going to have family. It's a
Yeah.
generational stuff. You can think about
Mm.
what my father have done for me and bringing me up in a Christian home and what my children are going to enjoy for life and what their children are going to enjoy because somebody took a decision somewhere
Decision.
to follow
Yes.
God. I want to be that person that follows God. I want my children to see me that the parents followed God and they are enticed and they are encouraged to want to follow
Encouraged
God.
to do it.
It
Yeah.
pays. It pays.
Yeah.
Yeah, it pays to do, especially in this world that we're living. A lot of questions. People, again, you're in the Western world today, right? People have these questions. They have this unknown question. People are seeking
Yeah.
for answers. People are seeking for stuff. They are
Yeah.
feeling void one way or the other. It's not about whether you're educated. People are educated, yet
No.
they have
True.
questions they cannot answer.
Yeah.
And those questions
Yeah.
still bring us back to God. And that is why I believe everyone listening to this podcast, please, please, if you desire anything for your children and seek that they know God, it's the best
Mm.
thing, it's the best legacy you can ever leave for your children. And I pray God help us to be able to live that life as a representative of God to our kids.
Oh, wow. That is so robust. That is like everything we've discussed here. It is so, so robust. And I cannot tell you, right? It's one thing I know our parents did for us, taught us how to pray. I say it every day, even if my daughter doesn't know anything in the world, you see, she must know how to pray. She must know that there's a God who is always watching after her. I give her some things sometimes, I'll tell her, who is watching over you? Say, God, who's the biggest in the world? God, who cannot fail you? God. These are little things that to be honest, our
Mm-hmm.
parents really sat us down and put in us. And sometimes I'm like, I can't just do without God. Sometimes I can't, I don't know how to explain this. If I do things, I'm like, I can't separate my life from God. I'm driving, I'm talking,
Yeah.
I'm listening. If I want to do something, I'm like, have you listened to something today? Have you read the word today? So this is very important, Lawrence. And I'm happy
Yeah.
that I got to speak with you about this topic. And so people can hear outside, not just from anybody else's story, but your story, to see how
Yeah.
much God has transformed your life. And it is such a privilege to have you here
Thank you so
today.
much. Thank you.
So if you have listened today, you're happy and you've been blessed and you've heard everything that we've got to say about being a modern father in this new world. Fatherhood isn't about perfection, it is about presence. It is the courage to unlearn the silence that we grew up with and to love out loud. Okay? It's not just about strength and holding your arms up. To every dad listening, your strength is needed, but so also is your softness, your love, your
Mm,
embrace.
that's true.
Thank you for listening to the Unraveled Closet. And I remain myself, Lucy. This
This
is the
is the
Unraveled
Unraveled Closet.
Closet. Thank you so much, Lawrence, and have a good evening. Cheerios!
Yeah, thank you so
Mwah!
much.